Would you believe me if I told you this painting was drawn by someone while they were sleeping? I couldn't believe it either when I first heard it, but that's exactly the case. This charcoal drawing of Marilyn Monroe was created by an artist named Lee Hadwin. Yes, this is a work of art. In order for an artist to be able to create such a work, he must devote all his attention to it and make every touch with great care. But none of that matters to Lee Hadwin, because he draws all these pictures while he's asleep. He's been doodling in his sleep since he was 4 years old. Let me tell you something even more interesting now. Lee Hadwin has no interest in art while he's awake. In fact, he doesn't even have any talent. He doesn't even remember drawing these pictures while he's asleep, let alone being able to draw them while he's awake. Hadwin has tried to understand the situation he finds himself in. Just like him, I've tried to understand. But how is it that a person can do something they have no interest in while they're awake so effortlessly in their sleep? Alright, you drew the picture. We understand. But there must be an explanation for how he can do it with such skill. Well, Hadwin has spent countless nights in a sleep center to understand this. All the doctors he visited agreed that his abilities are unique. So there's an artist sleeping inside Lee Hadwin. Of course, Hadwin's talent didn't stay hidden for long. It was noticed right away. This piece he created at just 15 years old was exhibited at the Marilyn Monroe Museum in Hollywood. Hadwin's artworks have been featured in many galleries around the world. Many of them have even sold for thousands of dollars. In fact, among the buyers is even former President of the United States, Donald Trump. So how can an artist create their art only in their sleep? Or is there a connection between sleep and creativity? Did you know that some of the world's most creative minds use sleep techniques? For example, the world-famous painter Salvador Dalí and the famous inventor Thomas Edison were both utilizing this technique. Now take a look at this photo. What could Salvador Dalí be doing with this key in his hand? Let me tell you right away. Dalí falls asleep while holding this key in his hand. And just as he falls asleep, the key naturally slips from his hand and makes a sound by breaking the plate below. Salvador Dalí wakes up to that sound and immediately starts creating. This technique was also used by Thomas Edison, the inventor of the long-lasting light bulb. We don't know if he invented the light bulb using this technique, but we know that he used this technique to boost his creativity. So there's something in the stage between sleep and wakefulness, something that boosts creativity. This stage is called N1, also known as the early sleep stage. According to research, we spend about 5% of our night's sleep in this stage. In the N1 stage, our consciousness does not completely fade away. For example, we can daydream, we can see shapes or colors. While doing this, we can also hear the sounds around us. So, why does creativity increase in such a situation? We still haven't found an answer to this question. But there is a theory about this. While the waking brain can organize thoughts, the thoughts and concepts in the sleeping brain float around in bits and pieces. Since there's no specific order in thoughts, creativity comes to the forefront. There's a view that the early stage between sleep and wakefulness can also be productive for creativity. So, why is it the early sleep stage that's being talked about and not deep sleep? So, if sleep increases creativity, should we sleep more? Or should we sleep even deeper? The answer to that question is no. Now, I'm going to tell you about a study related to this. The researchers selected 103 healthy individuals and divided them into 3 groups. The first group was told to stay awake and rest. The other group was allowed to enter the N1 sleep stage. The last group was allowed to enter at least 30 seconds of deeper sleep after the N1 sleep stage. Then each participant was asked to solve a math problem. It was found that the chance of solving the problem was 30% for those who stayed awake, while it was 83% for participants who spent at least 15 seconds in the N1 stage. The ones with the least chance were those in deep sleep at just 14%. So as you can see, we don't really increase creativity by sleeping too much. But haven't we been told for years that regular sleep rests the brain and increases concentration? You might think there's a paradox here, but what is really meant is creativity and problem-solving ability. For these, we definitely need a more alert mind for concentration. But whatever happens, it happens in the phase between sleep and wakefulness. As the duration of these stages increases, creativity also increases. There are some scientific studies suggesting that individuals with irregular sleep patterns have an advantage in terms of creativity. This is just like in that experiment. This increases the likelihood that those who sleep irregularly may have more creativity than those who sleep deeply in one go. Researchers say that during sleep cycles, when brain waves are active at different levels, the interactions between connections in the brain increase, and this situation can also enhance creativity. Let's take a look at the sleep routines of some of the creative minds in the world now. We were talking about Thomas Edison and Salvador Dalí. The list isn't limited to just these. One of the greatest geniuses of all time, Leonardo da Vinci, took 15-minute naps every 4 hours. So he was living with just 1.5 hours of sleep in total throughout the day. In fact, this situation is referred to in the literature as Da Vinci sleep, or by another name, polyphasic sleep, which means sleeping multiple times. The famous inventor Nikola Tesla lived on just 2 hours of sleep at night and a 20-minute nap during the day whenever he felt the need. It's said that Mozart, who left a mark on music history, only slept 5 hours a day and composed his works right after waking up. It's known that the French writer Balzac also slept less at night and took naps during the day. All these inventors and writers have somehow used sleep for creativity. So they've unlocked that power hidden in their subconscious through music and sleep. Speaking of the subconscious, let me give you another striking example.
All my troubles seem so far away.
Do you remember this song? This is one of the most famous songs by the world-renowned Beatles group. One of the group members, Englishman Paul McCartney, woke up from a night's sleep, went to his piano, and immediately wrote down the first notes that came to his mind. And the song I just played, Yesterday, came out like this. McCartney says he heard those melodies in his dreams. The American poet and writer Edgar Allan Poe used to write his stories inspired by his dreams. The power hidden within all these names actually exists in all of us. What makes them extraordinary is discovering that power. They managed to unleash that power, even if it was with the help of sleep. For some, this has manifested as musicianship, while for others, it has come out as writing. For some, it has manifested as painting. This tells us that we need to free ourselves from all conditioning for creativity. So, we might be in touch with that creative power of existence during certain stages of sleep. So as you fall asleep tonight, think again about that transition phase. Maybe the source of inspiration you've indeed been searching for all these years could be hidden there.